We will officially declare our City Council meeting to order at 6:09 p.m. 6:09 p.m. We have already conducted our initial opening exercises of this council meeting at the outset of the rate study workshop. So unless the council objects, I would invite us to begin with the mayor's report in the interest of time.
Let's do it.
Alrighty. Then I'd like to confirm with the council that we did move ahead with the purchase of a trailer. It was it's a 6x12 trailer that has been reconditioned considerably, and with new wiring and lighting. We acquired that for $200, and we'll be adding some wooden side railings, which will enable us to carry gravel and other such commodities. So we're pleased to report that. I wanted to give the council a briefing on our 4th of July progress. I met this morning at length with Reggie Smith, who asked to be excused from tonight's council meeting. He has a previous commitment. And so I can report in his behalf that all the details are pretty much finalized. The activity is going to begin at 2 o'clock. Reggie went ahead and acquired the appropriate insurance to cover liabilities on his part in the event, and we will compensate him for those costs. What was the total? Do you know?
It was $273, and it's in your voucher totals.
So it was $273, which I think is economical.
Yep. I think we budgeted $330 for.
Yeah.
So we kept
So
it below.
under budget. I can inform the public. We'd certainly encourage you to extend invitations to your neighbors and friends in the city and out to come. The festivities begin at 2 with a parade that will begin at City Hall and work its way across 506, and we'll have flagging personnel there to close off the highway. It'll be a fairly straightforward parade. We'll have the VFW and some military color guards. Mr. Wilson will be recognized for his military service. At the end of the parade, we'll have the lawnmower decoration will be one of the entries in it. And country cruisers will be participating. This year we're inviting children, young people within the community to decorate bicycles, and they'll be part of the parade as well. At the end of that, at about 2:25 or so, we'll have a military presence from the National Guard. One will be providing a 5-minute patriotic speech, followed by the national anthem. And that will officially kick off activities. Mike Parsons will have the water wheel activity there, which was popular. And we'll have pony rides and bouncy house. Yes, it's going to be a super-sized bouncy house this year. Supposed to be very popular. And there's something else too that escapes me. In any event, then we'll have games for the kids too, and we'll have our 3rd annual watermelon seed spitting contest. Great prizes for all involved. So practice your aerobic conditioning for that important event.
Get your spitter.
With the watermelon feed.
Jump rope out.
Exactly. So anyway, then we'll have, after the games, we'll have music for 4 hours, starting at 5 o'clock with a very professional group that's coming. They are performed on a number of cruise ships, so they're very talented. Excited about that. And then fireworks will begin sometime after 9 o'clock. So, that should to give you an overview. Any questions about that? Okay. Did want to add one topic, and that has to do with our street improvement efforts. I'm pleased to report that Mr. Shy attended the Transportation Infrastructure Board meeting. Was it a week and a half ago?
1 week.
1 week ago. I'd love to invite Mr. Shy to report on that, but he's lost his voice. Hopefully it's nothing terribly serious. I can inform you that based on the report that I got, I'm very excited about Mr. Shy's involvement in that. Priority number one for the city of Vader is, after our waste treatment challenge, of course, is improvement of our city streets. We have approximately $20,000 available to expend for that purpose, which could buy a considerable amount of asphalt. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but and there are no. I was operating under the belief that we had to wait until we had our capital improvement plan in place, but I've discovered that that isn't necessarily the case. That we can move ahead at our convenience with that project. So I'm going to encourage us, and particularly as a council, to initiate efforts to expend that revenue for that purpose. So that's the report I have on our street improvement. And I'm going to lean heavily on Mr. Shy to kind of oversee that forthcoming operation. Any questions? Alrighty, then with that, I would move forward with the approval of our agenda. Yes, Mr. Wilson.
I'll get on the ball again, is that on item 3, council consider resolution 9/2015 request to put a City of Vader name change on the November 2015 general election ballot.
Yes.
I've talked to a lot of people in town. I was elected by the people and for the people. And everyone I've talked to, they don't want to see this happen. We went through this several times in the city.
But
And
Mr.
been
Wilson,
defeated. Just a minute,
No,
Mr. Mayor.
what
I
is
have
it?
the point. I have the floor.
No, what does it have to do with the agenda approval?
I'm going to say that on the city council meeting agenda for 6/11/2015, that I wanted this resolution withdrawn from the.
Obviously, Mr. Wilson, you're aware that even though you are an elected representative on the city council, you don't have the authority to make such a declaration. And you can make the declaration.
This
but,
is a city council meeting, not a mayor's meeting.
my job is to moderate the city council meeting, Mr. Wilson, and to ensure that the legislative guidelines are followed. One city council representative doesn't have the authority to make a declaration and to eliminate an item from the agenda. So, the agenda item under discussion at this moment is the approval of the agenda as it's written. So, if you obviously are free to make a comment with regard to that, so feel free.
I'll make a motion
Yes?
to approve tonight's agenda for 6/11/2015.
Okay, you heard the motion submitted by Mr. Olson to approve the council meeting agenda as written. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. Flynn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? We have one opposed, the motion carries. Okay, let's proceed with the approval of the minutes for May 28th City Council meeting.
I'll put a motion out. We approve the minutes for the May 28th, 2015 City Council meeting.
Okay, you've heard the motion submitted by Mr. Flynn to approve the City Council meeting minutes as written for May 28th. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. Shy. Excellent. All in favor, say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Motion is carried. Voucher approvals.
I'll
I
make
make
a-
a-
oh, go on.
I make a motion that we approve the first half of June 2015 vouchers for the total amount of $27,746.76.
Okay, heard the motion submitted by Mr. Wilson to approve the voucher total as noted. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Mr. Olson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion is carried. Time for public comment. Do we have anyone signed up?
Nope.
Okay. Excellent. And let's proceed with our official city business agenda. Item number 1, the council is now to discuss the latest information received last week from the Lewis County Sheriff's Office. I believe that you've gotten that document. Would invite council feedback from Mr. Wilson.
As long as I've been in office and everything and had to go through hiring our own police chief and knowing the finances, it's along with getting our own police chief and your administrative costs and your benefits and everything. To me, the sheriff, Rob Snyder, has give us a very good figure that I would like to see we honor and accept his proposal. Excuse me, one more minute. As far as I'm concerned, I know a little bit about law enforcement, and I believe the sheriff's department has done us an excellent job. Yes, people complain because they don't see him all the time. Well, they have to remember that the person that's a sheriff, he can't be sitting on that corner when they want him. And this is what's happened in the city. I seen 2 officers in town today. They was at a complaint. And so I would like to say to the city council, I think we've got a good leader.
Duly noted.
I'll
Excellent.
second that.
Okay. Now, you're obviously aware that we don't need to act on this. This isn't an official
Yes, I
contract.
understand that.
Yeah, but duly noted, I would echo those sentiments in as much as I have the privilege of administering the law enforcement services within the community. We know that we're not getting 24-hour coverage. We're getting about half that, but my observation is that we're offsetting the number of hours with a higher level of quality service.
You're correct.
Yeah. So anyway, this is out there for you. Obviously, there are pressures in play at the moment. We're not the only city that has been approached by the Lewis County Sheriff's Department. We have a deputy present with us. We thank you for being here. Other communities are being similarly approached, but it is something for us to carefully consider because we are one of the few that already has an ongoing contract. So, more to come, I would predict, as far as conversation is concerned. Okay, any other comments with regard to that item number 1, that topic? Then let's proceed with item number 2. Latest developments on the wastewater treatment options and the facility plan update. I should probably initiate this conversation because I had actually anticipated that we might have Representative BHC with us tonight, but no such plans had actually been formalized. And I know that in our last council meeting, we had begun to embrace a couple of the emerging final options with regard to the extension of an effluent pipe from what would be the upgraded facility. And the two narrowing options were to proceed across a designated location through Enchanted Valley and or then proceed to the south. And we learned, I think it was yesterday, that there was some new information that we might be made aware of on Monday from the Department of Ecology. Now, Kathy, do you have information regarding that teleconference?
Yeah, yes, I'm Kathy Reed, Department of Commerce, and have been working with the Department of Ecology and the city on this project since I was young.
You're still
Just to clarify on the options being reviewed in the facilities plan, those are, even though you said the word final options, we're talking about what options are being reviewed. Doesn't necessarily mean they're the final options or the preferred options. We're looking at reasons either to keep them in or keep them out. Ruling out an option, I think, is just as valuable as finding an alternative option, because it shows that you're looking for the most affordable option of, that's possible for the community, with the being able to do it as well. So, yes, right now there's one option you've looked at, and pretty much, I don't know if you've ruled it out totally, but there's reasons to rule it out. We're looking at another option, which is the subject of the conference call on Monday. I think Ecology wants to talk a little bit more about some of the review they would like to have done for that option. But I just want to point out that it's,
Could you state which option?
Oh, that was the Meekler Road
Where?
option. The, going up, I don't know how to describe
South
it.
on the West Side Highway,
Yeah.
down to the bridge
Mm-hmm.
with Olaquah.
But again, when we're talking about these options, it's the fact that we're looking at the feasibility of them, not necessarily going to do them. And just because they are reviewed in the facilities plan, doesn't mean that they're going to happen. The whole exercise of going through it is to look at possible options, rule some out, and find the best one. So when you hear, that something is in the facilities plan, it doesn't mean that that's what's going to get built. It means that's what we've been reviewing and possibly ruling out. So some new information has come to light about that particular option, and that's what Ecology wants to talk to you about on Monday.
Yes.
How are they gonna go?
It would run alongside in public access easement along the West Side Highway,
Mm-hmm.
southerly to where the bridge crosses, and then
On 506, you mean?
no, it would be where South Military turns into West Side Highway.
Okay.
Runs south there to where the Olaquah enters into the Cowlitz. So there's more public property there that we could utilize.
I know where the old bridge used to be down in that,
Mm-hmm.
there used to be an old bridge down there for the
Mm-hmm.
Cobbs River crossing.
Right. Apparently, we aren't privy to what it is exactly that we're going to hear from the Department of Ecology, but I have felt that it would probably be wiser to wait until we get that feedback before we officially discussed the options.
Could I mention one more thing, Mayor?
Please, Council so defers.
This fits right in with the current process that you're in. I think as all the council members are aware, you hired BHC to prepare the facilities plan amendment, and it is not yet complete. Ecology has said they want more scrutiny of those outfall options and more information on them so that there can be more evaluation of them. So some of the next steps that BHC is going to be doing is gathering more information about those. Not necessarily because that's what's going to get built, but in order to provide enough information to evaluate whether it's a feasible option or to rule it out. And as I mentioned, I think the exercise of doing that is good, even if you rule them out, because, this is why. Because when you finally have a final option and you go to whatever funders there are, they're gonna say, what options did you consider? Did you consider something cheaper? Because they only want to loan as little as possible. You only want to be in debt as little as possible. So you want to demonstrate that everything that was a good potential option, you had all the information you needed and you evaluated it. And right now, you don't have all the information you need to evaluate all the options. So it is, but BHC is already planning to be doing some of that work. What you find out on Monday is just going to be a little bit added to
Gotcha.
the work that they're going to do.
Not probably a significant deal changer.
I don't think it's a game changer, no.
Okay. Well, I do know that feedback, which we obviously get as elected officials, are edging ever closer to having to make difficult decisions with regard to the best, most feasible options. And will ultimately impact the residents of Vader. And I know that I personally have been recontacted by individuals, elected officials from other communities who are revisiting ideas that we explored and embraced a year or 2 years ago. And so I suspect that there may be other members of the council who have heard similar such overtures. And maybe at some point in time you'll want to articulate what some of those options, in particular talking about Winlock and revisiting the concept of running a pipe directly to their currently operational waste treatment facility.
Do you want me to share?
Yeah, I think it would be appropriate.
I met an individual 2 weeks ago who had an idea for us. He first said hooking into Winlock. Well, we ruled that out because of the cost. Then he told me that you can form what's called sewer districts. And if you form a sewer district, then there's a lot of federal funding available. And we could possibly, I'm repeating his words, we could possibly hook up to Winlock at no cost to the city of Vader. So I had a meeting set up with him. I had to talk to you about it for tomorrow. He has a
Yes.
doctor's appointment, so we have to change it to next week.
Right.
Okay. We're meeting with him possibly next week to get more information to see what he's talking about. Freeze always sounds great to me, but I want to find out what strings are attached, if the possibility does exist, if it can be done, and what we have to do to get there. But Winlock's interested, we're interested. I just don't know what the end cost would be for us. If it all did work out, what kind of end cost then Winlock would then apply on the city of Vader because of their expense on their plant. So all that's up for consideration. We're looking at it. That's all the information we have right now. It's just a
Yeah,
possibility.
it's very superficial and cursory. Have you ever heard of such a thing?
I'd love to just react to just what you said. I'm not aware, so the funding programs that I've shared with you guys, ecology, rural development, public works trust fund, community development block grant, those are available to both sewer districts as well as cities.
Mhm.
There isn't any additional money that I'm aware of from any program that is available to a district that's not available to a city.
Oh.
So that part of it, I don't know.
I don't know either, and that's why I'm pursuing
Yeah,
it.
if he knows of one, I want to find out about it too, so I'll look forward
Right.
to your report.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll keep that soon.
I guess just a couple other thoughts that came to mind when you were talking about it. Yes, I think it was in 2011, we did a facility plan update to look at building a line to Winlock.
Right.
And at that time, found out that it was just as expensive or more expensive than what was proposed as a mechanical plant down at the lagoon site.
Oh, I understand that.
Right, and so if you want to look at that again with maybe a different route, different assumptions about costs, that sort of thing, the city's free to do that. You can do that.
Is that right?
It would need to be examined in a facility plan update. It is not currently in the scope of work being looked at by BHC.
Right.
So it would be additional work to be done, and I think it would be fully at the city's expense.
We are, what I told this individual, we have to get state and senators involved. He said he knew one, I said fine, or federal, whatever it is. He said he knew somebody, and I said, that's great, let's make the contacts we have to make. I'm gonna try and find out whatever information I can get from him, and I told him we're receptive, but it's, I don't want smoke and mirrors, I want something factual.
Yeah,
So, but why not? Why not pursue it if there is a possibility? I've
Yeah.
never heard of it before, but he said that other communities have formed sewer districts and they pull this off, and then through federal funding, our connection to Winlock could be covered totally by federal funding at no cost. It would be a grant. I said, fine, I want to hear about it.
when you throw in the thing about contacting a congressional
Mhm.
member, in the past, there was a federal program called the State and Tribal Assistance Grant, STAG grant,
Mhm.
and that's available to cities and districts. And you access that through your congressional person.
Mhm.
And in the past, you used to be able to get maybe $1 million or $2 through that. What it is, it's a line item appropriation in the federal budget. Don't quote me on this, Stephen, but otherwise known as PORC. Okay, so
Right.
it's a special project. You apply for, maybe it's not PORC because you do apply for it, it was an actual program, but it shows up as a line item in the budget. It'd be Vader to Winlock line. And that's how it show up as a line item appropriation. Anyway, so you used to be able to get those until about, and I worked with several communities that got some money through that, up until about 7 years ago or so, and then the most you could get was maybe $450,000 or less. And to be honest, since the recession, I haven't heard of many communities getting any of the STAG funds. Now, it might be something different than that, so that's great. I hope he does know about another program. But when you say, work with a Congress member,
Right.
that's the one that I am aware of.
No, I just thought I'd pursue it. I haven't
Yeah.
said anything. This is the first time I've mentioned anybody other than Ken.
Okay,
But it's just, why not try?
right. And just a couple other things to keep in mind. Let's say you decided, okay, we're gonna pay to relook at this connection to Winlock.
Mhm.
I'd say, great, I'm looking for the cheapest option too. They would need to be incorporated into your facilities plan and end up being the best option. If that happens, then you would have costs, there would be costs for the construction of the line.
Right.
So there's capital costs. And then, of course, Winlock's going to charge you a rate for
Correct.
sewer. And Winlock's rate is currently $100 a month for sewer.
Yeah.
And what we have heard is that from their engineer, when we looked at this several years ago, remember, Mayor, when we were looking at the 3 cities all going together, was that there would need to be upgrades to Winlock's plant in order to accommodate that additional capacity. Now, maybe that's changed some, maybe they've reduced some of their I&I and all that. So we'd have to keep that in mind, And I don't know if some cities charge more for out-of-city residences or customers than in-city. So I don't know if that would be the case or if they charge their in-city rate. The other thing to just keep in mind is that, so that would be for wastewater treatment, you'd still be responsible for your collection system in city limits. So just some things to think about.
Yeah.
Excellent.
But yeah, I'm real interested to hear what this gentleman has
So
to
am I.
say.
Okay, well, excellent. Then, I think we're up to speed now with where we're at. Obviously, a certain degree of consternation in this process. Okay, well then, I'm prepared now, if there are no other council comments regarding item number 2, to proceed to discuss item number 3, which Mr. Wilson is, I'm sure you're anxious to provide your input on. Consideration of Resolution 09-2015, a request to put a City of Vader name change on the November 2015 general election ballot. And now we will open it up for council discussion.
As I said before, I'm firmly against it because I've talked to a lot of people and I haven't had one tell me that they would vote for the city of Little Falls be put on the ballot because they like the city of Vader. Because most of them know a lot of the history, and they said, well, it's failed 3 or 4 times already, why should we go and get it and let the city cost us money again? And I said it will cost the city just to put it on the ballot, not much, but it would cost the city to be put on the ballot. And I said, there's city finances that to me is against the law to use city finances to do this because it's not for the people. It's against just a name by a couple people. And so I am firmly against it, this resolution, and I'll tell the people what my vote is, period. It'd be no. Thank you.
Do we want
I'm
to
done.
go left to right and then come around and have all the council
Sure.
members express
Sure.
their opinions?
Yeah, I respect your opinion and your experience and your input from the citizens. I'm on the flip side of that. I hear just about the association of Vader. A lot of times citizens are making calls and, they'll be talking to somebody from a different state and they're like, Vader, yeah, how does that work? Is that related to Darth Vader? So yeah, the feedback that I'm getting is the change would be very welcome. At least put it on the ballot because I'm confident, and it sounds like you're confident too, that the citizens would make the right choice on the name change or not.
Petition would be the way I would go if I was wanting something to do.
Okay.
Let the people make it out there, not the city council. That's, excuse me,
Sure.
that's the way I look at it. Let the people get the petition and say what they want to. Fine, that's the way a lot of it went before.
Okay, Mr. Flynn?
I've talked to quite a few people myself, and I met one this afternoon who was quite animate. And we left still friends, but I said I feel very strongly that if the citizens want the name change, let them vote for it. If they don't want the name change, let them vote for it. That's our right as citizens. We have a right to vote. There's not going to be a cost to the city. I understand that somebody has stepped up and said they'll cover the cost of the city, so the cost will be minimal because we have so many people on the ballot this year. The cost is small, and we did have an individual step up and say that he would cover the cost. So it's not going to be a cost to the city. And for that reason, I would like to see it put out there and see what happens. I've been involved in developments and real estate and construction business all my life. And the name of things does have a way of changing people's opinion. And as Justin said, I'm from out of town, so I don't have the history that people have here. I've lived here for 8 years. But the name Little Falls, if you're a developer, I just built a project in Little Falls, Washington. Oh, that sounds interesting. But when you say I just built a project in Vader, Washington, they go, where is that? It's just a connotation. And everybody goes Darth Vader, but the city of Vader we've been changing the attitude of this town for as long as I've lived here. And we're trying to get rid of some of the old garbage that entails with it, like all the drug people, the drug houses, the marijuana, the meth, all that stuff. And I like to see us start with a clean slate. So my personal opinion is I'd vote for it. But I'm only one person. So let's put it out there and let the people who live here, they have an opportunity to vote. That's what this country's about. If you want it, vote for it. If you don't want it, don't want it, vote against it. So I'd say put it on.
Mr. Shy?
Thumbs up or down, Joe?
I have a lot to say about it, but in the end, I'm for the people deciding.
Okay. For the people to decide.
Yes.
Okay. Well,
I'll put a motion on the table.
okay.
If that's what we need.
Yeah, let's give it a shot.
I move to approve resolution 09-2015 authorizing a proposal whether the name of the city should be changed on the ballot at the November 3rd, 2015 general election.
Okay, Mr. Flynn has submitted a motion to approve resolution 09-2015 as read. We have a second for that motion.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, seconded by Mr. Olson. At this time, given the sensitivity of the topic, is an opportunity for the council to provide other feedback or comments about it. Okay. Well, I would like to add something. Obviously, I do have the privilege, and as we all do, to share our perspectives on resolutions. And I personally am out and about, as you are as well, and I have talked to maybe 2 people who are opposed to it, but I've been approached by numerous individuals, the Vader Citizens League included, who are strongly admonishing the City Council to give this opportunity to the people to vote on it. So, and with regard to the costs, I can tell you that if you were to contact the county auditor's office, because we have 4 elected officials on the ballot, they bill the city for an initiative such as this. And divide what would be the normal fee by the number of individuals on the ballot. If there were 3 people on the ballot, the cost would be approximately $115. If there are 4 people, then it's going to be probably less than that. So I can't sit here and agree with somebody who asserts that the city is going to, as far as putting it on the ballot is concerned. And now there are other issues that may impact the city, like changing our letterhead and such things. But as was noted, we have individuals out there who've approached me and informed me that whatever the costs are impacted by the community, they will cover all of the costs. So it would be disingenuous for anyone on the council, if you're informing the people that it will cost the city money to make that claim. And I've also looked into the matter where the 2 people who expressed their aggravation at it said, well, you'll have to change your post office box. And my understanding is that as long as you put 98593, it doesn't matter what the name of the city you put on your mailing.
About my mortgage and my title and my cars and...
Mm-hmm. If you put 98593, you can put your name on it and they will deliver it to
The
you.
motor vehicle department is gonna take my 98593, is that it?
They would. So, I mean, you can experiment with that, but that's how they roll.
You should,
Mm.
as a council, look into that before
Absolutely.
you say it's not gonna cost the city. Well, we're the citizens,
Mhm.
hired you to do a job, you're not doing the job if you're
Oh,
not finding
no,
out.
I'm sorry. I just got caught up in my commentary. Would the council care to hear comments from?
I'm sorry.
No apologies. So, obviously there will be an impact on the residents. You'd have to engage in some obvious documentation modification. But if the majority of the residents want to make that name change, that would just be something that would have to be done. It would be part of the process. I think it would be wise for us to engage in the homework to answer those questions effectively. But I do think that that's, as far as costs are concerned, this is about as prime a time to engage in it when it would be the least cost impactful for the residents of Vader. So there, that's my 2 cents worth on this topic. Any other comments from council? And Mr. Wilson, would you like to add more? You want to add more?
No,
Okay.
fine.
Well, we do have a motion before the council. Hearing no additional commentary, let's put it to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No,
Okay, one. Then that motion is carried. So the resolution will be processed as appropriate. Okay, let's proceed now with our final item on the agenda. The council to consider resolution number 10-2015. This is the purchase and sale agreement. And with considerable chagrin, I have to tell you that perhaps we could have our city clerk enlighten us as to the latest advice given to us by our city attorney.
Well, we've been working on the purchase and sale agreement, and I don't recall, well, you guys all have it in your packet this time.
Yes.
It's quite a lengthy agreement, but we've gone through the back and forth between us and the church, and we've agreed on a purchase and sale document, all the wording and everything. So they got their board approval earlier this week, and so they are, actually, Pastor Durham came in and signed it today. The attorney wants to review everything and all the additional exhibits that need to be part of that, of which I asked her what those were, because I wasn't aware of any additional exhibits, and she said she would get back to me tomorrow. And she felt uncomfortable encouraging council to consider adopting it before she made sure that everything was the way it should be, in her opinion.
So we're not voting that tonight.
So I don't
It's
have
her
a final
recommendation.
resolution for you, so
But that's her recommendation.
that's her recommendation.
Perhaps you could consider approving it contingent upon any modifications from our city attorney.
From what I understand, the changes that were made, she wrote them. So all they did was agree to the changes that she put in there.
Yes.
So I'd say let's vote on it. Be done with it. I can't see why she has to review it when we're only voting on the stuff she wrote.
Yeah, I wouldn't dispute that. I do have the highest respect for her, but she did. Yes. No.
Just so you're fully informed, the resolution that you see there has not been approved by her.
We know that.
I just want to make sure you know, I wrote that based on information from other cities who had similar type resolutions, and so I put that together and I presented it to her for her review, and I just want you to know she has not said that that is acceptable. But I just want to make sure you're fully aware.
Well, that is important clarification.
just a lot of wording.
Mhm. Well, one is a deletion on page 6, so that's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, the deletion was they were asking for the city to expose its finances to the public, and they're not gonna do that.
The church.
The church, yeah.
Finances, yeah.
City church.
So the only paragraph in question is on page 1. It's section 1.2.
Yeah, I don't think that she has problem with the wording, because she wrote that wording.
So she did write it.
Yes,
but
she
I
wrote
thought-
that wording, but
Is
what,
that the exhibit she's talking about?
no, I don't know. She hasn't answered my email yet to tell me what exhibit. The only exhibit I'm aware of is what you see on the very last page, which is Exhibit A, which gives a description. The only thing I can think of that she might be requiring us to have is some sort of verification that Pastor Durham can sign for the deed. That he has the authority to enter into this agreement for the church. That's the only thing I can think of. It's not, I read through, I
Well, he
haven't
does
seen
have the
anything.
authority because the city, the
Yeah.
church board is a governing body of the church, and that church board gave him permission to go ahead and sign it.
Right, but she might want to see documentation. That's the only thing I can think of, because when she said she needed to review the document and the additional exhibits, I went through and read and thought, looking for what additional exhibits would be required. And I didn't see anything, and that was the only thing I personally could come up with. But like I said, I'm not doing these types of things on a regular basis,
Wilson.
so.
Wouldn't it be just simple to get a copy of the deed and attach the deed to it in a bill of sale instead of all these words?
I
Words are important.
I mean, if you and I was selling a piece of property, we'd have a deed and
That's right.
You and I would, but in the real world, this is the city. So,
So one thing I might say in Carol's defense, a little bit, is that I agree that these become quite complicated. But one thing she said to me in a phone conversation last week was, she says, you gotta remember that you've hired a junkyard dog to be your attorney. She goes, I will fight and fight and fight to protect the city and do whatever I can to make sure that every base is covered, so that there's no possible options for something unknown to happen and put the city in a negative position or in a position where they can't use the property. Now, remember, she's used to working with very large cities who deal with people throwing around large quantities of money. And here in the little city, we benefit from everybody kind of knowing each other, and we don't see things the way that they see them in the larger cities. But her full intention is just to make sure that the city is not ever put in a position where we purchase a piece of land that for some reason we find out in the future cannot be used for a park or whatever, and then we have to deal with the possibility of a lawsuit of why did the city spend funds, public funds on something without doing the proper review. And that's all I can tell you. In her opinion, this additional review needs to be done for the, before council approves.
yeah, well, and well articulated, I think. That gives us all, I think, a working awareness of her perspectives. And I do have the highest respect for Carol Morris. She's giving us some extraordinary legal counsel over the past year and a half, 2 years, at extremely bargain basement prices. But my feeling is that with such urgent need to move forward, given the patience of the Assembly of God, I mean, you could pass this resolution contingent upon her review, and there be no additional changes to it. And she may look cross-eyed at that action, but you are the city council. And she did
I think we
provide
should
this.
move ahead with that and give the, this is all gonna come down to the attorney's final say-so on the changes, and the mayor agreeing to that. I think we should vote on it, and because if we don't, then it goes another 2 weeks or another month,
Yeah,
and
just delays the 30
right, it
days.
just goes on and on and on and on and on. And I happen to know some of the thoughts on the other side, and it's a good price for what it is. Okay? Yeah? And so I think we should move ahead with it and put the caveat in there that we don't have to come to another council meeting and have another resolution passed and have another vote on it. That we'll vote on it now and give the mayor the go-ahead to approve it with the consent of the attorney.
Can you put that in the form of a motion?
Sure, I'll do that. I move to approve Resolution 10, 2015, and authorize the mayor to execute the purchase and sale agreement for the personal property known as 218 A Street, Vader, Washington, based on the approval of the attorney with having no restrictions or additional problems with the sale or purchase of the property.
Okay,
Does that cover it?
I think it does. Let me rephrase it. Mr. Flynn has submitted a motion to council to approve Resolution 10-2015, authorizing the mayor to press forward with the details associated with the transfer of this property, sale of the property, contingent upon the review of the city attorney and there be no specific changes to the current document. If she finds some reason or basis for it, then, of course, I'm adding this part, it's not part of the thing. If she finds some, then I would not proceed until you had seen the modifications.
Fine.
Does that capture the essence of the motion?
I would second that.
Okay, we have a second. Mr. Wilson has seconded that.
Super.
Do you have a concern?
I just need a clarification.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is possible, but since she has not reviewed and approved the resolution, I don't know why that would be anything, but what if she comes back and says, the resolution you used is not proper?
Well, that
Something.
means that she's got a material change to it. And
Okay,
then-
so we're talking a material change to either the purchase and sale agreement or the resolution,
Correct.
either one.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
good
that's what I
clarification.
wanted to clarify and make sure in the motion that I got that.
Thank you for that. Okay, understanding that, and you continue with your second of
Yes.
that. And any additional commentary? Hearing none, let's put it to a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed?
I raised my hand, just keep company.
Hearing and seeing none, that motion is carried. And, okay, let's hope fervently that it flies and passes. And we have a comment from Kathy Reed. The council care to anything?
May I make one clarification about something I said under item 2?
Sure.
Council, defer?
So
Yeah.
regarding the discussion with Councilor Flynn about going to Windlock, and I had mentioned what their rates are now.
Right,
Their rates are that based on the number of customers they have now.
right,
If they had additional customers, it could affect their rates.
Right.
And I know it would be a benefit for their city, definitely. So I just wanted to make that clarification that, you know, what the rates are now might not necessarily be the same.
And it should be
Right.
noted that they're also trying to persuade Napavine to
Right.
conjoin with the system, which
I
would
have
have a
heard that.
material.
See, I
impact.
asked a lot of questions also because I heard the maintenance costs for their system is excessive. And the biggest problem with their maintenance is they don't have enough customers. And so the system is designed to run at 80% and they're running at like 50%. And that's why the filters are plugging up and everything's clogging and the system isn't working.
So
'Cause
that
they-
could provide an additional benefit, yes.
Right,
So I didn't want it to sound like I was
I
trying
understand.
to dissuade you
No.
from it. Just wanted to outline the issues that you're gonna wanna consider.
I'm not dissuaded easily.
Now,
Thank you for letting me
I just
clarify.
It's my understanding, and a little bit from what I heard 2 or 3 years ago, that somebody got to them as far as overdoing the size of the plant for the amount of people they had.
Oh, you're right.
And that's what's causing all of Winlock's problems,
Yeah,
is they let an engineer do them in for a project that was too big for the city of Winlock. You know, you go down the city of Winlock, it's just like Vader down today. Stores closed, offices closed, they're getting no restaurants, no nothing, they're getting in bad shape too.
That's right.
Well,
They got problems.
We did have a member of the public want to make a comment.
About Enchanted Valley, if they did the Winlock, what about Enchanted Valley and the homes there?
They would maintain the status quo. There would be no, they're on septic.
You would put a plant in, you would take the effluent, shove it there, and then
They would
how would
send
you
it-
do the effluent just straight out of the Enchanted Valley is one?
No, that wouldn't be part of this equation because they're all on septics.
But isn't that in our,
No,
It's in our, that's our urban growth area, not within the city limits.
just to tell you, I used to be the contractor and also in charge of Enchanted Valley back in, when it started in '72. And originally, Chesterfield and Haas, the owners, wanted me to look into, down as you go down, all the way down at the bottom, where the Old Cry is, that they can see what the city of Vader would do about us pumping and putting sewer in. Pumping across there right up into the sewer, which would have been very short distance, but that failed because they didn't want to spend the money, but they would have had sewers instead of septic tanks. I put a lot of those septic tanks in and they're failing now, because of the fact is that they're old and
They're pretty close
Okay.
together too.
Well,
what
there,
about the,
I think that actually we've probably extended that, because once an agenda item is discussed, then we're not normally expected to go back and revisit it. But we did, and so that's what you can do in a small city. But hearing no other comment from the council, prior to concluding this city council meeting, I would like to, in behalf of the city council, express our appreciation to Stephen Floyd for his outstanding media coverage of the city of Vader and council meetings, because this will be your last meeting, having taken an outstanding employment opportunity in Klamath Falls, Oregon. So,
So who's gonna run the paper?
Congratulations.
Oh, nice. We have a writing staff at our publisher's office in Raymond, and they'll be sending people over, so, yeah, I don't think anyone will be left in the lurch.
Oh, God bless you. Wish you luck.
yes, a round of applause.
Nothing but success.
Thank you. Well, on that official note, then, I would consider this meeting adjourned at 7:06 p.m.